Hey, thanks for joining us. My name is Andrew Quiñones. I'll be your host this evening, and we are in studio at Positive Pomona Productions studio in downtown Pomona. And today we have guest Paulette Young. Hi, Paulette.
Hi, Andrew. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, I'm glad to have you here as our guest today. So you and I have been hanging out recently, and I've learned a little bit more about you and all the work that you've done over the years throughout our region. And I even understand that you have a wonderful podcast related to health that goes out all around the world.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your business and what you do and how you got started.
Well, when I became a single mom, I wanted to be home, but I have to make income. So, because I wanted to be a part of my children's life, all parts of it. They have a game, they have a concert, whatever it is, I wanted to be there. So I said, I know what I can do. Start a traveling classroom. Because before I worked in the hospital as a respiratory care practitioner, emergency rooms, ICU, all the exciting things. If you want to be off work, they're not going to let you off. They're going to say, we all want to be off, but I want to go to their games and plays and be a part of their life. And so, long story short, my oldest was 13 at the time. And I saw what happened after homeschooling her for 2 years. I saw the disadvantage of working the 9 to 5 and being away like that. Everyone else is raising my child. So the only way to go was, and then I had 2 more. I didn't want to do them the same way. I just didn't. I prayed about it. I talked to God about it. And then I made a commitment. God, I'll never do another child like that again, because it just, at that time, if you remember, everyone was into women's lib. They sold all of us, a lot of women, on the importance of, doing what you want to do. No, you can't be done that way. Who's raising your kids? The neighbors, the schools. They need the parent too. So starting the traveling classroom, and it worked. It really worked. You can look at your calendar and say, I work this day. Oh, I'm not available on that day. I'm not available on the days that my kids had, they had plays and they were athletic, and I wanted to be there. I treasure all those moments with my girls. And having a traveling classroom, if they were off school, I called it, because I did a lot of CPR and first aid with the preschool. And I developed a health and safety program too. It's not reapproved yet because I got to turn in paperwork, because every 2 years you're supposed to turn in all this paperwork. So, but out of that health and safety program I became an author and writer. Didn't know I had those skills. And that was fun too. So I enjoyed motherhood. I wasn't a perfect mother, so my kids would say that. Is there a perfect mother? I don't think so. So you learn and you try to do better. And that was me. I loved it. Through having a traveling classroom, through the writings, I also learned a lot about the HIV. The testing procedure was wrong. How do you get it changed? You can legislate, but that takes too long. So I chose to join the NAACP. So if it passed in their realm there, then the information on the importance of taking both tests, so you don't have to go back and forth. What I mean by that, you go 3 months, 6 months to a year testing for the virus. When they know they have a test, and it's called the RNA test, it tests for genetic material. And if that one's positive, then you have the virus. The other one, well, it could be, may not be. Hit and missing. The problem with that is You test someone and it says negative, and they're really positive. So they keep going. So you're going to keep infecting people. So I saw the importance of that. And NAACP National passed what I wrote in October 19th, 2019. So they're included in their education on the HIV. I've managed to go into Pomona High School and Gary High School to give the information. I'll never forget Gary High because one of the teachers there said, well, doing the, the kids that are a little slower or rowdy, as they call it, he didn't want me to do them. He says, oh, it's important that they go to the computer class. And I thought, I want to say, is he crazy? So I didn't say that, but I did convince him. I said, let me have them anyway for at least 10, 15 minutes, at least.
So let me get this straight. You were going to some of the Pomona high schools to teach a lesson in CPR, is it? Or
no, this is what I knew what my goal was, to tell them the importance of going to college.
So you went to the high schools to share with them career readiness speech.
And through what I've gone through.
From what you've gone through. However, a select amount of students, they didn't want you to work with because they were perhaps the rowdy ones.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. But you refused.
I refused.
Wonderful.
Because just the ones that are going to sit still, I don't care how rowdy someone is. If someone's talking about something that affects your life, your rowdy bunch will listen. Mm-hmm. You have to care. See, I know they're supposed to be the rowdy bunch, but I look at every student, every adult as Einstein. You have to prove to me that you're less than. But you start off at a high level.
Yes.
They listened. They were glad.
Absolutely. I think we have some things in common in the sense where, one, you were talking about, how important it is to raise children, for families to raise children, not the government, not the schools, not the neighbors. And I'm also, I'm a late parent. I started being a parent at 40. I got 2 small children, and my wife and I, we both run nonprofits, and we felt it was very important to be an actively involved part of their lives. So we're homeschooling our boys, and fortunately, God bless, we have the freedom and the luxury to do that.
Yes,
and to teach our children because they belong to us. They don't belong to the government or the school or the world.
And you will be the role model. You will see to it that what they need, not always what they want, what they really need, that's going to hold their lives up for ages to come. I homeschooled also, just the oldest, because I felt the school system had failed her. She was in private for a long time. Then she went to, they had changed the age level for junior high. That year was a total disaster. I was fed up. So what I did is I'll do it myself. But I was with 40 other families.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, when I did
Power numbers, huh?
Yeah.
Power numbers.
Because at that time, Calvary Chapel, when Raul Reese was in West Covina, there was a lady named Millie. She started homeschooling, and she had 40 people signed up.
Yes.
She said, Paulette, if you're going to do that, just sign up with us.
Bro, wonderful.
So it was Calvary Chapel Academy.
Yes.
We also belonged to a legal group. All you had to pay is $100 a year. So if there's any legal things, with the system coming against you, they fight for you.
That's right.
So that was a total blessing.
Yes. So yeah, and I think that part of you that took it within your own power and your own hands to be the primary source of love and education to your children.
You have to, and I would tell anyone, look at your kids' grade. How would you grade the papers? Because Tamla would come home, A+. I put D. And I said, look at all these misspelled words. Plus, when you know your child, you know what they're capable of. This child was already reading 2 to 3 grade levels ahead. And she can't, no one really cared at that time, or whoever had her. And it was a substitute teacher that spoke to me. at the school and said, and if you say I said this, I'm going to deny it. But I'm telling you, she doesn't belong here. She's very bright.
Yeah.
And I says, and the principal at that time got upset with me. Well, we don't just grade on mistakes like spelling and grammar and stuff like that. I said, too bad the colleges, they do. Because I was a science major. I have a BA in biology and a minor in bioorganic chemistry. And I'll never forget getting a paper back, all these red marks. I was infuriated. You better believe it. That didn't happen again.
Yeah.
Well, and they tell you we'll mark down. When we have papers and things that have to be submitted, we'll mark them down.
Right. And now we have a spell check and all those other things that allow us to make the mistakes without even learning from them. Huh?
Yeah, that's not good, but yeah.
So, I grew up also around this area, and I was a bright kid. I was a GATE student, but I was one of those troubled youth. And one thing that I've learned is that I appreciated adults like you that saw beyond maybe the mischievousness of them and dedicated still, whatever time and energy to helping mentor and inspire young people.
And I found out my oldest most likely required a smaller classroom because I put her in at Calvary Baptist in Laverne. They were so homey, family. And that's what I needed as a single mom. I needed that. They were their parents when I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I felt safe. I felt comfortable. I felt I didn't need to worry about my kids. And so, especially the oldest, she was not the easiest.
All right, Paulette. Well, we're going to take a short station break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, thanks again for tuning in to the Pomona Promise Network Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Quiñones of the Southern California Service Corps, and today's special guest is Paulette Young of Healthcare Consultants, teaching others to save lives for over 20 years.
Okay, welcome back to the Positive Pomona Production Studio and Pomona Promise Network Podcast. My name is Andrew Quiñones, and I'm your host. And today we have in studio our special guest, Paulette Young. Well, Paulette, you and I are Optimist members together in this club here, Pomona.
Yes.
And that's how I met you.
Yes.
And a little bit that I learned about you is that, again, you have a health consulting business.
Yes.
And one of the things that we kind of worked on, I guess, a little bit, there was an event at the Fairplex called Unity Day LA, and you had a booth with a young lady, and it was all set up to teach people about CPR and about saving lives.
Yes.
I see you brought in a flyer with you today. Why don't you share a little bit about your health consulting business and the information for sudden cardiac arrest?
Yes. Right now, there's an organization called HOPE, and they wanted us to just go out and begin to do compression-only CPR. The rationale behind that was because 80% of the heart attacks occur at home, and then you have another 60%, say that you're out in a mall or something, is witnessed, but yet there's less than 10% survival rate. The football player that had that massive heart attack or his heart stopped, if no one did compression-only CPR or did nothing, then he would have been dead. Thank God they also had what they call an automatic external defibrillator, which is used also when the heart stops. And he needed that defibrillator. Without the defibrillator, he wouldn't have made it still. And the reason for that is sometimes the heart stops and it requires to be shocked. Off the record, I'm not telling anyone not to have a defibrillator, but what did they do when there was no invention of the defibrillator? They did what they call a precardial thump. They hit hard. There's someone I taught the class to. I says, this isn't practice. It's not supposed to be. But he did have a kid that I think he was 17, and they were playing football. His heart stopped. It was a Christian school, and the kids went praying. And then the coach noticed the kid turned blue, was still blue. He remembers what I said about that because the paramedics wouldn't have been there for almost 30 minutes, so he wouldn't have survived. He did that. In his case, it worked. That kid is still alive to this day.
Wow.
So it showed over and over again the importance of having that automatic external defibrillator. But the reason I took an interest in doing compression only is because they're dying. Less than 10% survival rate, and all you have to do is, you don't want to put your mouth on them. Do compression only so you can keep the blood circulating because there's still some oxygen there. And a lot of times the paramedics come within the first 5 to 10 minutes, 15 at the latest. So if you can keep that blood circulating, you spare their brains from being brain dead and stuff like that. At least you'll try. And anybody can do compression only CPR. Anybody.
And today on this podcast, we're gonna set up this mannequin shortly, and we will do a little videotaping on how to actually practice compressionless CPR.
Yes.
All right.
Especially you're out and there's no one, paramedics aren't there.
Right.
But once they get there, let them take over.
So, Paulette, one of the things that we're doing within the Pomona Promise Network, we have a little subgroup called Prepare Pomona. And it's about community safety. And some of the things that we talked about is disaster readiness, disaster preparedness. I've been to a number of meetings over the course of the past decade with police and fire and county officials and talking about disaster plans. And one of the things that was always been a takeaway is that they're not coming to help you in a time of a disaster. They're not going to come help me. They're going to respond to the most important calls first before they're going to get to my house, let's just say. So one of the most important things during a disaster is preparedness. And I think one of the best skills that we can learn for ourselves is whether it be how to do a proper tourniquet, how to do the compressionless CPR, how to do these things to save lives and keep our families healthy and with us. And so I got a question for you. What inspired you to particularly go down the field of health and wellness?
I'm passionate about helping people, one. And then when I learned that some of the youth are dying when they could have been saved, I want to get that information out. Just like for the HIV. Right now, it's not, you don't see it on TV. You don't see it anywhere where those numbers are. But the fact is, 50% of all new cases are below age 25. That's high. It didn't used to be that high, but it is now. And these youth are getting ready to go to college, and then they learn they're HIV positive. So I just always, at one time I was planning to go to medical school. That's got me into health stuff. And after I got my BA, I went back into the field of respiratory therapy so I can stay connected to the health area. I'm just passionate in that area. There's so many things. If a person knew, they would be still alive. That's why I love health fairs. Yes. Those are so valuable. One of my friends, if it wasn't for the health fair, she'd be dead right now.
So let's say out of the last 5 years, or even maybe a decade, because, COVID and the pandemic really had an effect on us doing things. How many health fairs do you think you've attended over the past decade?
Wow. I was with Diamond Love Foundation. That's the one with Sugar Shane and his sister Serena had started. And we did health fairs. In fact, it was big. Uh-huh. We had anybody from Casa Kalima to Pomona Valley we had just about everything. The dentist, Western University, all of them came out. They checked the eyes. How many? I don't really know.
Quite a few, I'm guessing.
Yes, because if someone asks, hey, Paulette, you want to be part of the health fair? And then even Pomona Unified School District, when they had theirs, I was part of that. I have so much fun imparting information to the youth, especially the youth. And I'll never forget the two guys. If I had a camera and I could have taped them, that would have been so valuable. When I told them about HIV and how you get it, I said, you can even get it through kissing if you have mouth sores and you bit your lip and stuff like that. And is a girl going to tell you that, that she's HIV positive? No. Is she going to say that my mouth is kind of messed up? No. Are you going to have a microscope to look at it? What is your mouth like? I remember the one kid, he was spitting on the ground. He says, I've had a girl every month, a different one, and I'm always kissing. He changed his mind about putting his mouth in someone else's mouth. I said, the United States was the last one to even say anything about the kissing part because you do have to have a condition. The problem with the condition, who's going to tell you? Right. They're not going to talk at that level. And they definitely don't have a microscope. Mm-hmm. I said, it's before you get involved, you need to be tested. Mm-hmm. She needs to be tested. I remember there was one case, the young man, he never, ever got involved, sexually, kissing, no kind of way. And he was down to the last, what he's going to do next. He was planning to get married. He didn't get married. The girl tested positive. She only had one encounter.
Wow.
She had no signs and symptoms because you literally may not show any signs and symptoms for up to 10 years. Mm-hmm. That's a long time.
Yes.
That means you're not being treated. And when that happens, how long are you going to live? Because there's been no treatment.
Yeah. Well, if you're Michael or Magic Johnson, mm-hmm. Or some of these wealthy people, mm-hmm. I guess you're going to have more success living than others, huh?
Oh, definitely, because you can fly out of the country. Yeah. You can just about go anywhere. But even on the note with HIV, we've come a long ways. They do have the thing where they said if your viral load is low, you can't transfer the virus. The only thing I have a problem with is that's if the person that has HIV is taking their medicines. What if they choose not to? Mm-hmm. Now the viral load goes up. Now it can transfer. Mm-hmm. So it's called honesty. In the beginning of birth control pills, I thought about that one. I said, the girl can say she took the pills. Did she? Some of them didn't. Mm-hmm. And she ended up pregnant. The spouse or whoever they were didn't expect that. It's called honesty.
Honesty?
You got to be 100% honesty. So if you're not, if you have a partner and they're not honest, I say shame on you. Because that's what it's based on. It's working, but I guess nothing's foolproof. Yeah. People aren't. So why do we think that's going to be? So, but I don't know where the numbers are since they started that. The only thing, the biggest thing I don't like about it is the person that has to take the other medicine so that they don't get it. Well, it's a problem because the medicine can destroy like the liver, the kidney and stuff. So you have a good liver, good kidney, good organs, and you take this medicine to keep from getting the virus, yet it's got the other effect.
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about that or worry about
that. That's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. This pharmaceutical healthcare system that is quite corrupt in my purview.
Yeah. Well, I look at what the other countries are doing, and they follow the United States. They look at what we do. Mm-hmm. So when we come up with something new, a new vaccine, new anything, they're not quick, except for the COVID. Everybody was quick to take vaccines for that one.
Not me. You hear all the problems that are happening now?
Yeah.
That's right.
The death rate has gone down. Mm-hmm. people are, I forgot to bring my mask.
Yeah.
But, people are, doing much better.
Well,
So-
I think these past couple of years have been confusing to very many people all around the world on all these mandates and these people coming out saying things that are profiting in the long run from it, like Fauci and some of those other people that are again, it's a profit-driven healthcare system. And man, I just tell you, for me at least, I think the best policy is prevention. To have a healthy immune system, to eat well, to have a positive mental health. I think God provided us with all that we need within our bodies. You know what I mean?
And we
to
do
overcome
things
it, to fight.
we do things in some of the medicine.
Right. I think
Corrupts the body and the immune system.
that's right. And I think it's a shame. It's an absolute shame to think that perhaps the future of the world as it unfolds, that we will all be tied to some pharmaceutical company taking vaccines and booster shots for the rest of our lives. It's
Not me.
yeah. I mean,
Unless they can give me a clinical reason.
right.
And then I'm always told by the doctor, if it's not broke, why fix it?
If it's not broke,
I have it.
Right.
And the news doesn't say anything about that COVID vaccine, because if you have a strong immune system
Right.
and you have high allergic reactions, Center of Disease Control put it on their website. Do not take the vaccine.
Yeah.
It's not for you.
Yeah.
I have a strong immune system. I don't get colds. I can be around people with colds and still it's not transferring to my body.
Right.
My immune system is very strong.
Yeah.
So I asked him, why would I need a vaccine?
Right.
So, and, you have to go and be tested, and you really have to come up with your own reason why by looking up everything you're allergic to and seeing if anything matches that vaccine. Because if it does, don't take it.
Right. And just for transparency's sake, I believe that everyone has their own right and their own opinion to do what they need to do with their own body and their health. And I don't shame anybody that did take the vaccine. I mean, that's their choice, but also on the same other hand, that I don't think I should be shamed if I didn't, let's just say.
Yes.
We all have a responsibility to take care of ourselves and our families the best way we know how, with the best information that we have. And, well, besides all that craziness that's been happening over the world for the last few years, getting back to why we're here today, and that is really to share your experience here in Pomona and within our community and helping by sharing just really good information that's able to save lives and to help people to grow in better ways. Is there any other things, any stories that you might want to share that just kind of stand out over the years that made a difference in your life because of the work that you do?
Yes. Being able to be the traveling classroom and having a profound effect on those that I teach has been great. I know this isn't a Christian show, but I got to share this.
Please do.
There was one lady, she still stands out in my mind. Her mom prayed for her for years and years. She wanted her to be up under Jesus Christ. And what happened in the end, all those seeds were planted. Her mom wanted her to become a believer in God, period. And what happened was her mom died. So here Paulette comes. I share me. I don't tell other people what to do. I just share myself. And she listened. I said, now we need to go ahead and start the class. I'll never forget, as I go back to my car at the end, she pounds on my van window, because I had a van at that time. It kind of scared me. So I turn around and she says, this God you talk about, my mom talked about him too. How do I receive that God as my Lord and Savior? So we prayed the sinner prayer. And she knew she had other people to talk to that can help guide her. And I'll never forget that day, because I couldn't find her house I almost gave up. And we, as Christian, call it spiritual warfare.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was in its highest. That sticks out.
Mm.
The other thing that stick out, my ability when I was doing the health and safety program for that 16-year period, the state let me talk about the HIV.
Uh-huh.
And then the last round, they said, take this out, take that out. And I says, wow, because you won't have enough room for the information on the HIV. And if I scare someone, good. If it scares you into doing something the right way, that's good. But those are a couple of things that really stand out. The change I see in the youth, especially when I was at Pomona High, they listen. They wanted to know, well, if I get tested now, would I have to worry later? I tell them, no, it's good to be tested. Mm-hmm. The playing field has changed. You shouldn't be involved that way. I don't tell them how to put a condom over a banana. I think that's so funny. Give them the facts. Tell them what's can happen to them. Mm-hmm. If you're going to get involved, I don't talk about the do's and don'ts because we all know it doesn't work. Give them the facts. Mm-hmm. That works. Because I can say I had a profound effect on that audience. And I chose to stay at the school the whole day. Because the teacher asked me, well, how many hours can you stay? I said, how many classes you have? And when do school ends? I said, I'll be here the whole time. I've already blocked off the date. And what she did, she invited all the other classes for that period instead of do the students, send them down to the room. There was 100 seats sitting there. And I'm thinking, in one classroom? No, she told the other teachers instead of having class today, because we don't know when we'll get this lady again.
Yes.
And she's doing it for free. Yeah, because money shouldn't stop education.
That's right, huh?
That's the way I feel. It should not. There's too many of us. Yeah, we all need money, but we all need to keep our kids alive too. Mm-hmm. Till you can figure out the money later.
Yes.
But in the beginning, somebody's got to do it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm that person. So some of you are gonna need compression only CPR. Give me a call.
All right.
Send me an email.
And on that note, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to have a demonstration of the compression-less CPR.
Yes.
Did I say that right? Compression-less CPR?
Yeah. Or no, compression only.
Okay, compression-only CPR. So when we return, we're going to get the studio set up and we're going to show you what compression CPR is all about. And hopefully, if you learn something with us, you may one day have the opportunity to save a life in your neighborhood or family or community, huh?
Yes.
All right. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Hey, thanks again for joining us at the Pomona's Promise Network podcast. Today's special guest is Paulette Young with Healthcare Consultants, teaching us compression CPR in order to save a life close to us. We're hoping you're enjoying today's podcast, and we hope you learned something new. Want to learn more? Feel free to visit us at www.pomonaspromise.net.
Okay, welcome back to the Positive Pomona Production Studio. My name is Andrew Quiñones, and I'm your host for today. And we have special guest Paulette Young, and she's going to show us an example of compression CPR.
Hi, I'm Paulette Young with Healthcare Consultants. We do a lot of training in CPR, first aid, bloodborne pathogens, HIV. We do quite a bit. What I want to say is I'm going to show you compression-only CPR, how you would do it, so that we can possibly save a bunch of lives and get that less than 10% survival rate to go higher, because at least you know how to do compression-only CPR before even the paramedics get there. That would help. So this is normally done, the way I'm doing it is done on children and adults and teenagers. Okay, let's go. So the first thing you're going to do is find the person's nipples. and your heel of your hand's gonna go on this bone, that hard bone that's on your chest there. And you take the heel, and it should go up like this, right in the center of the chest. Fingers up like that, and then you interlock them. And the song you do is by the Bee Gees, Staying Alive. Staying alive. That's the rhythm you want. Keep that going. 30 compressions. If you don't want to breathe on them, that's fine. You can do this and still keep them alive. Okay, let's do it again. I just stopped for a moment, but you can continue to do it until you're tired. Okay, that's it. And if you want me to show you one-on-one or in person, you'll call Healthcare Consultants. 909-670-6999. And we'll have some fun with it. You want your whole family? We'll come out. We'll even do some, what we call Zoom training. Whatever it takes, that's what we're going to do, because we're about saving lives. In fact, we're going to save all the lives in Pomona.
All right.
Why not?
Okay, welcome back to the Positive Pomona Production Studio. My name is Andrew Quiñones. I'm your host for today. And we are just coming to a close of our podcast interview with Paulette Young. Today we got to learn a little bit about her raising her children, a little bit of background of her professional experience and her community work. Paulette, I just really want to thank you so much for joining me today here at our studio. And would you like to share any thoughts or parting words with our community?
It's been a pleasure. I love sharing and talking, especially when it comes to saving lives, our children's lives, our parents' lives, our friends' lives. The blog talk radio that I have, American Health Crisis, I normally come on right now once a month, and I normally talk about things that no one talks about. So just to inform people, I've had classmates call me when I've talked about the kidney, and someone wanted to know the numbers. What does that mean? I have to be honest, tell them they can look it up, and this is what this means. You have to make changes. All of us do. If you're not going to make changes, then, well, it depends on what you want your quality of life to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you want it better, then you have to make changes. And change is not always easy, but it's important that you do. So you can always call me. You need a class. I do teach classes where you get a certificate and things like that. And the bloodborne pathogen, which is a much-needed class. The pediatric first aid CPR AED that has approval. The one that I run has approval of the Emergency Medical Service Authority of California. It's a worthwhile class. It's a long class, but that's what it's going to take to save the little ones' lives. And when you begin to take classes, you never know. It may be your own life that you've shared with your family, and they may know what to do. And I want to go back on that question you asked, something that stuck out. I remember one time, this he was between first and second grade, and my friend Cynthia invited me to come down to talk to her class. In the beginning, I had an attitude because they're too little. What are they going to learn? That was my attitude. One of the little boys learned how to unchoke your loved ones, because I had them bring baby dolls, and I brought balloons in. We bust the balloons and then put them in a straw. Then you try to blow the balloon up, and it wouldn't blow up. So to show them the importance of keeping the airway clear. And he went home. Within 2 weeks, he remembered what I taught him. He saved his uncle's life because he didn't have muscle dexterity to do the choking, to unchoke someone, but he coached his brother that was a little bit older, like 12, how to unchoke the loved one. Saved a life. Changed my attitude about what kids can do and what they can learn. He learned enough to save his uncle's life.
All right.
That still sticks out.
Well, Paulette, that is a wonderful note to end our podcast on. And again, thank you for all the good work that you've done over the years in our community. I really appreciate you, and keep it up. And we look forward to having you back and sharing more with us in the future.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds great.
Okay, so again, thanks for joining us here at the Pomona Promise Network podcast at the Positive Pomona Production Studio and here in downtown Pomona Arts Colony. Again, my name is Andrew Quiñones, and I'm your host. And this has been a part of the Community Safety Prepare Pomona series. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really does a lot to help us out, to get the good news out to the wider community. So we appreciate any support that you give us. And keep on sharing this good news with others, and hopefully we'll see you within our community. Peace.